This will change your relationship forever. Imagine this. What if there was a timeless principle that could unlock the love, devotion, and passion that you've always wanted from a man? What if you could finally stop feeling anxious about whether he'll commit, stop worrying about him pulling away, and instead start experiencing a love that grows deeper and stronger with him every day? And what if you can do all of this without chasing, forcing, or begging him for affection, but instead by simply showing up in your feminine energy in a way that makes him want to give you everything you've deserved? Well, in this video, I'm going to share a secret that can transform not only your relationship with a man, but the way you approach love, dating, and even your own heart. And once you understand it, you'll never look at your relationship the same way again. I'm Brody Boyd with Magnetize Your Man, and for over 20 years combined with my wife, Antia, we've been helping thousands of successful women all over the world to get a loving, long-term, and committed relationship with the man they want. So let's go ahead and dive right in. The concept we're going to talk about today that can unlock your relationship forever is the principle of sowing and reaping. The Bible says in Galatians 6:7-9, we reap what we sow. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. This principle applies just as much to your relationship with a man as it does to a farmer's field, because every word you speak, every look you give, every action you take is like planting a seed. Those seeds can either grow into love, devotion, and passion, or they can grow into distance, resentment, and pain. So let's talk about the 5 most powerful ways to apply this principle in your relationship. The first principle is sowing in the right soil. A farmer doesn't waste his best seed on dry, rocky ground. No matter how perfect that seed is, if the soil isn't rich and ready, nothing will grow. And it's exactly the same in your love life. Your feminine energy, your warmth, your softness, your vulnerability is the seed. But not every man's heart is the soil that can actually receive it. If you keep giving your feminine core to broken men who are emotionally unavailable, hurtful, or stuck in their wounded masculine, it's like scattering seeds on the concrete. You know, Jesus also said, don't give your pearls to swine. Nothing can take root there. In fact, instead of growing into love, those seeds can end up being trampled on or wasted, leaving you exhausted and discouraged. But when you sow into the right soil, into the heart of a man who values your feminine essence, who cherishes your openness instead of punishes it, who is willing to step into his healthy masculine by leading, protecting, providing, that's when your love has a chance to truly bloom. It's not just about who you plant into, it's also about when. Even the best seeds won't sprout if they're planted in the wrong season. If you try to force a relationship or pressure a man into commitment before the soil of his heart is ready, it's like demanding fruit before the tree has even taken root. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, "To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven." So the key is this: choose wisely where you sow. Plant your feminine energy into good soil and honor the timing of the relationship. When you do, those seeds will grow into a harvest of passion, love, and devotion that lasts. The second principle is daily seeds of feminine polarity. Here's the truth: relationships don't usually collapse overnight. They grow strong or weak based on the little seeds planted every day. Every smile you give him, every time you lean into his embrace, every moment you allow him to lead, and every time you say something like, "I appreciate you," that's a seed. These might seem tiny, almost invisible, but over time, those small acts of vulnerability, softness, and honor create a powerful harvest. They multiply into a whole field of passion, devotion, and long-term commitment. 2 Corinthians 9:6 says, "Whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows generously will also reap generously." That means that the more you sow these daily seeds of feminine energy with your man, even the simple ones like asking him for advice or spending time with him doing activities that he loves, the more you'll reap a harvest of his love and devotion. One of our clients, Kim, used to unknowingly plant weeds of criticism and control. It wasn't malicious, she just didn't realize how often she was in her masculine with him. But when she started planting daily seeds of appreciation and softness, everything changed. Her man didn't just open his heart, he proposed to her. That's the power of daily seeds. They don't look dramatic at first, but they multiply into something life-changing. The third principle is avoiding weeds and pulling them out when they show up. Because no matter how good your seeds are, if the weeds take over, they'll choke out the growth of love. Weeds in a relationship look like complaining, criticizing, controlling, blaming, or mothering him. Every time you plant those seeds, even without realizing it, they wrap around the seeds of love and suffocate them. One of the biggest weeds is disrespect. A man's heart simply cannot grow devotion when he feels disrespected. Another common weed is overfunctioning, trying to do everything for him instead of allowing him to step up and lead, which is also another form of disrespect in a way. But here's the good news. Just like a garden, weeds can be pulled out. You don't have to live with them forever. One powerful way to remove weeds is through what we call magnetic feminine communication. For example, instead of planting the weed of criticism with, "You never listen to me," you can plant a seed by saying, "May I share something with you? I feel a little sad because I miss feeling close to you. Could we spend some more time together tonight?" Now, one shuts his heart down, the other opens it up. One creates distance, the other draws him closer. So the question to ask yourself daily is, are you planting seeds or weeds in your relationship? The fourth principle is the law of multiplication. One seed doesn't just produce one piece of fruit, it produces a tree, which can then produce thousands more seeds, which can then produce an entire orchard. That means that even one small act of feminine energy, one moment of softness, one expression of true vulnerability can multiply into loyalty, romance, and passion that lasts for years. A smile or a heartfelt apology may seem insignificant, but over time it can grow into the habit of being in your feminine energy that transforms the entire relationship. But here's the challenge. The harvest doesn't just come overnight. This is where delayed harvest comes in. Many women sabotage the process because they get impatient. They keep digging up the seed to check if it's growing. That looks like nagging, testing, overanalyzing, or pressuring him for answers before he's ready to give them. But just because you don't see the results today doesn't mean the seed isn't growing beneath the surface. In fact, some of the most powerful transformations in a man's heart are happening in the unseen, in the quiet moments where he reflects on your presence in his life. Galatians 6:9 reminds us, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." So don't give up too early. Don't assume nothing's happening. The fruit may be much closer than you think, and when it finally breaks through the soil, it often comes more abundantly than you ever imagined. The fifth and final principle is sowing into yourself and thinking generationally. Because the truth is, the seeds you plant in your own heart determine what grows in your love life. Proverbs 4:23 says, "Above all else, watch over your heart, for everything you do flows from it." When you sow into self-love, joy, and feminine wholeness, you reap a man who reflects that back to you. But when you sow into overwork, bitterness, or self-neglect, you'll also attract a man who mirrors that back to you. The Bible says that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. When you treat yourself as a daughter of God, you teach a man how to treat you. You show him without words that you are worthy of love, care, and devotion. And remember, the seeds you sow today don't just affect the relationship you have now. They ripple forward into your family, your children, and even into generations you may never meet. The way you carry your feminine energy today can inspire daughters, nieces, granddaughters, and friends to embrace their worth tomorrow. If you plant the seed of patience, joy, gratitude, and openness, you're not just changing your man's heart, you're changing your legacy. And that legacy can echo far beyond your own timeline. So remember, every word you speak and every action you take in love is a seed. When you choose the right soil, when you plant with patience, and when you tend to your heart with care, those seeds will grow into something beautiful. The harvest of love and devotion may not appear overnight, but in the right season, it always comes. Trust the process, trust God's timing, and allow yourself to be amazed at how love can blossom when you keep sowing those seeds from your beautiful feminine core.